all the thanks for that one right there. This is my mom's very first con ever. She's gearing up for Star Wars Celebration later this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Where's that going to be? She's already become the perfect cosplayer.
LA.
Because she's all
Anaheim.
You got a panel in 10 minutes, we gotta go, when you stop in for pictures. Alright, so I am also known as Jasmine Cosplays in association with LGBTHQ, the hub of all things gay at ComiCons around the world, and currently on the East Coast. You got my social media stuff there, and this panel is about cosplay and crossplay. Now, I am genetically male. I grew up male, it's 40 years, and about 4 years ago I started on a transgender journey, and now I identify as non-binary, gender fluid, and asexual. I work for the government. I'm retired Navy, and they allow me to go to work however I'm feeling that day. I identify as mixed instead of Mr. or Miss, and my students, who are all adults, they totally get it. And it's wonderful to be able to express myself in the way that I enjoy. And it was cosplay that gave me the confidence and the encouragement to start living this life the way I want to be. So, for those who don't know the difference, crossplay is basically dressing outside of your selected gender. Okay, so luckily I'm non-binary, so I can go either way. But technically, because of my genetics, I am cross-playing Samus right now. Now, if I were doing a male version of Samus, I would be gender flipping. That's sometimes referred to as crossplay, but they're actually kind of different. That's taking a character and changing the character's gender. And that's, again, perfectly reasonable, okay? So, I see we got a lot of cosplayers in the room right now, and maybe a couple of budding cosplayers. I will tell you now, cosplay is a gateway drug. And your cosplay is never finished. It is only presentable. It's like good enough for now. But you're always making corrections. You're always, I want to get a new suit. I want to, get new things. And this is my squishy. He's magnetic, so he comes on and off my shoulder like so. Originally designed as a hair clip, but when I talked to the designer on Etsy, I said, but I don't want to clip into my head because then brain sucker. No, my squishy loves me. Okay? So she put magnets inside, and I wear a little strip of magnets on my shoulder. Oh, it's inside this. And there you go. Oh, good to go. So here we can see a very basic cosplay. I thought I'd start off by talking about closet play. Does anybody know what closet play is? I see a hand up. What do you think it is? No?
It's like using what you already own to cosplay a character. Maybe not like it's canon.
Exactly. It may not be perfect, but it's just like a representation. It's the same color palette, perhaps, like a blue jacket and a red shirt, and you're Superman, right? But usually something out of your closet, or maybe just going to a thrift shop, not making any changes. Okay, you just wear that nice suit that you wore to your friend's wedding, and you throw on your grandfather's fedora hat and some sunglasses, and you're from the Blues Brothers, right? And it's really easy to just take off the hat, add a laser pistol, and you are from Men in Black. Another one we realized, they don't have the photo, but if we change that pistol to a regular pistol, a regular gun, what could you be from? Pulp Fiction or The Matrix?
007? The Matrix, yeah.
What was that?
007.
Could be 007, exactly. So it's very simple to cosplay any character. And again, if people are like, I don't get it, I don't really see you as Ariel, right? You're like, yeah, with red hair, green shirt, Ariel, nailed it. We all know about alternate realities and parallel dimensions now, right? So it's all good. So again, this gun, speaking of, I designed it myself. It is designed from a Nerf Maverick. If anybody recognizes the standard 6-shooter Nerf. I took out the barrel and then crafted it with foam, and I had a friend of mine rig it up so it actually flashes. This is called her paralyzer. Right? It stops them in their tracks. So moving on, this is my Hana Solo. This is a crossplay, okay? Because we've taken Han Solo and done it as a female. And again, that's just a toy blaster, a vest, a shirt that I bought. A friend of mine loaned me this belt, and those boots are right out of my own closet. They are also 6-inch heels, just like these, but I can dance in those. They're very comfortable. I do have a little red stripe here, but it doesn't have the hash marks. So again, it's presentable, but it's not finished. Work in progress. And this was actually at the premiere of Solo down in Merriman.
Oh.
This is my Maleficent. I call this high school substitute teacher Maleficent. Could you imagine her walking into your math class? Oh, how quaint. Thank you for inviting me. So literally this is just the hood, which I got on Amazon for 20 bucks. It's just a rubber hood. The crow I got from a friend whose daughter had done Maleficent, and I have a staff that's not in this picture, but that belt is this belt. So again, it's just that simple. Everything here is out of my own closet. And she's stunning. out for shopping excursion. I changed the belt here to a silver belt that I like a little bit better. A lot of times it's all in the makeup. You know, it's all, or in your general attitude. You know, if I was just kind of like, this isn't Samus. Samus doesn't walk around slumpy. Right? Samus is proud, back straight, hands out. Hey. So this is an original character that I'm kind of working on. There's a Ren Fair in Maryland that I started going to, and I love purple. I have purple earrings. I wear a lot of purple. My hair is naturally purple. So I bought this lovely purple hat and added the rose, and we got purple here, we got the bustier. So I'm working on this character, and I call her Captain Amethyst.
Oh.
So my thing is that she doesn't run alcohol. She's not that type of pirate. She runs all the little pieces of fruit that you put on the alcohol. So in this sense, I was able to develop a character and then create them and do whatever I wanted with them. So are there any questions right off the bat, starting out before? Because I got a lot of slides here. I'll get through them all, and then we can ask questions if anybody has
So is that, are you now is this an original one? Because I don't know.
No, this is called Zero Suit Samus. I believe, does it even say? No, it doesn't say. But this is, the character's name is Samus Aran.
Oh,
and she's from a video game series called Metroid, which is an old Nintendo series from the 80s.
Which is different than your original one.
Correct. This I made it myself. This is all you, all me. Right. This is my presentation of this character, and you'll see other people who can dress like this. And hey, if somebody else wanted to dress as Captain Amethyst, I'm all for it. Just make sure I get that copyright money. So this is my Hela from Thor Ragnarok. The suit purchased online from a company called Heroes Time. Heroes with no E. HeroesTime.com. And you just send them your measurements. You say, I want that pattern, and you can make modifications. This suit, for example, has zippers in the sleeves so that I can hide my business cards.
Oh, nice.
My money is on this side. It's technically designed for me to take my hands out so I can use my real fingers, but this suit, the fabric actually works on cell phones, so it's not a problem.
Oh, nice.
So this one, I had to have some modifications made, but the cape and everything came basically just like this, except the heels. Originally it was just flat-footed, but I had a tailor add a little bit of extra material and a little hook, a little interfacing, so that it just stretches over my shoe. But I can wear a flat, I can wear a 2-inch heel, I can wear a 3-inch heel, whatever I feel comfortable with. And then that's just a wig that I got from a company called that company, which I forget. This is right outside my apartment in Maryland just a few days ago. My students sometimes do stories about me and my cosplay and things like that. And we went out for several photo shoots for the day. It was a lot of fun. This is actually in my office on a Saturday. But got my Mjolnir there. I got my LARP official sword. You put a little green lighting effect in there. And boom, you're a super villain. Hey, welcome. Everybody say hi to Daya. Hi. Sometimes you can do what we call a mashup cosplay. I call this Heleficent. So basically, it was just putting on my Hela cosplay, putting on my Maleficent hood, and she does have a big hood that she does wear, Maleficent, but that is clearly Maleficent's hood and not Hela. And just change the eyeshadow a little bit to be a little more Maleficent related. There's a lot of seats down front if you want. Right over here we got seats.
So if you were going to an event and you wore this outfit, is that what you call it?
Yes.
That's the only one you would wear that day?
Oh, no. There are cosplayers who will change 2 or 3 times a day. They'll pretty much come in, they'll make a circuit, they'll get a bunch of photos, maybe they'll go to one event and get a photo with a particular movie star or something like that, maybe the person who's played that character, and then they'll go to their hotel room and change, and then go out again. I personally typically stick to one cosplay a day. It is, but if you love it.
Yeah, but it's all in the details. So
it is all in the details, exactly. I will be here tomorrow as Jean Grey. Yes.
How many cosplays have you done?
I have done about 20 or 22, and there are some that I've never actually done at a convention, like the Hannah Solo. That was at a movie premiere. I haven't done her at an actual convention yet. So I usually like to say the ones that I've done at conventions is 22, and I have more on the way. Again, gateway drug. You just can't quit.
Well, back east, they're just every weekend somewhere and
yeah,
real
all
close to Washington, D.C., so.
All around DC, Baltimore, there's AwesomeCon, there's ScotsCon, there's Otakon, there's MagFest, which is a music and gaming convention, but there's also going to be people there cosplaying. There's Baltimore Comic-Con, there's Balticon, which is actually a writing convention. Farpoint Con is going on right now. They invited me last year to say, come back next year. I said, sure, I'll be there. It'll be on my birthday. And then this happened, and I'm like, nope, I'm going home. So this, I got this suit from a friend who, it didn't fit her anymore, so she says, oh, I want to sell this pink Chun-Li costume. So I pretty much everything, just about everything here, the dress, the belt, the guards, the little thing on the hood, all came from my friend. I took it to a tailor, she took it in, I bought these boots on Amazon, and even the tights, the brown tights came from my friend. And so now I think Chun-Li. I get some guff on this one. They say, oh, I don't like the pink one. You don't do a cute character. And I agree. I have very sharp features. I tend to do better with like the evil supervillain or the independent woman. Anybody recognize this? Silk. This is from the Spider-Verse. She's got kind of a paired origin story with Spider-Man. But this one, as you can see, there's no extra detail on the feet. There's no heels or anything like that, so this is right out of the box. This suit, again, came from Heroes Time or Zentai Zone or ZentaiZentai.com. And boom, you just give them your measurements and knock it out. Now, when it comes to cross-playing, when you're a male and you don't have certain features, the main things you want to focus on is like adding a bust line and adding a waistline, okay, adding hips. If you can widen the hips and increase the bust or narrow the waist, it's either or. So if you want to wear a corset and really suck it in, that will give you the hourglass figure that you're looking for. Yes?
Oh, you were talking about how, about crossplay,
Yes.
and so for those of us that identify like as conventionally gendered,
Yes.
is there some kind of, like, what are the ethics in the community of someone who identifies as male dressing as a female character? Are people generally in support of that, or are there different things you should pay attention to?
You should be sensitive, again, but typically you can dress however you want. I mean, I first went to a convention and I was dressed as a Dark Phoenix, which you'll see later. It was my very first time at a convention in cosplay, and dressed like this. I'd only just started my transgender journey, so I wasn't going out in public as a woman all that much. People loved me. I got so many compliments, I got so many people taking photos, and then there was another girl dressed exactly like Dark Phoenix, the exact same costume, got it from the same company, just she had a different wig and different shoes. But we got together and we were taking a couple of pictures, and then we couldn't get apart for 10 minutes because people were taking so many pictures, so I had to whisper to her, one more picture and then run. But she's now a close friend, Tiffany, back in DC.
So generally crossplay is like very well received.
It's very, I was confident in cosplaying early on because I knew they would be accepted. I've gone to conventions where people are dressed like Sailor Moon with a full beard and hairy legs. You know, and if they're accepted, you know, then I knew I would be accepted presenting fairly cis. You know, I pass pretty well. It's usually young kids that'll call me out. They'll be like, "You're so pretty, thank you, what's your name?" "Why do you sound like a boy?" It happens, and I've gotten used to it. And I've only had very little negativity. I did have one guy once stop to ask for my photo, handed his camera to somebody, and while he was, you know, then he came back over and said, "Can I put my hand around your waist?" I said, "Yes, you can." He's like, "What?" I said, "Yes, you can put your hand around my waist." "I'm sorry, I have to go." Grabbed his phone and literally ran away. It was like, well, that's the thing that just happened. But a girl who had been taking a photo, she was also in cosplay. She said, "Did he just run away after he heard your voice?" "Oh no, honey, you are gorgeous. We're getting a photo." And now she's one of my con sisters in the Maryland, DC area. So, it's very, very supportive, especially at cons. And I would say that for people who are trans curious, that it's a great way to kind of test the waters and see how it feels. Because I have con friends who have never seen me out of cosplay. And then I like show up at a convention and it's like before, you know, after hours or whatever, and I'm just getting dinner or something like that. And they'd be like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, Jay? Something's missing. And or when I cosplay as SpiderMan, which we'll again see later, it's you got the mask and they can't see my face. You know, it's the cheekbones that always give me away. And it's great with cosplay because eventually you start to get recognized in the community and you'll be at a convention out of cosplay. And so people are like, you're Jasmine Cosplays, aren't you? I follow you on Instagram. Oh, thank you. JazzRay22. Any other questions before I move on? I mean, I'm happy to stop and talk. I'm really just vamping. So this is a great shot that a friend of mine took. This is Halloween spider web that he just stretched between my fingers. And in the background he superimposed later, but it was taken just against a nice solid background. If you're ever going to do any type of like cutting out, if you want to like add effects or whatever, try to get a solid background. That makes it easier to cut the person out. There's my Spider-Man. Spidey is great because he's super recognizable, and people will they'll come up and just hug you and high fives, and you can be silly, and you can jump on a pillar until security comes over and says, excuse me, you need to get down. There's a liability in the hotel. But I've done a lot of volunteer work. I've done birthday parties as Spider-Man. I've done charity walks. I don't have the photo in here, but there was a great time where these two little girls came up and hugged me, and my photographer was right there, and I took a little part behind their back, and it was so cute. I should put that in there. So then you can just take your Spider-Man, put on a red wig from your Jean Grey, and I call this Spider Red. This is another original character based on the Spider-Sona, Spider-Verse multiple realities type of concept. And people are like, is it Mary Jane Spider-Man? I'm like, well, not really, because this is the Spider-Man Homecoming suit. And in Spider-Man Homecoming, Mary Jane doesn't have red hair. So I made my own universe. This is Earth 5227. And I call her Spider Red, and if you spell it, if you write it out, Spidered. It's my own little thing. So that's the great thing about cosplay, is then you can start coming up with your own characters and your own ideas, and you're not constrained by the limitations of the media that's out there. You don't have to spend all this time looking for a character who looks exactly like you to play them. You know what? If you want to be Captain America and you're African American and 4'2", hey, get a shield, get a mask, and make it happen. I tell people it's important to cosplay what you love and love what you cosplay. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how well you know the character. You haven't read all the comics. You can't cosplay that character. No, but I like their style, right? It's just important to love the character and love yourself.
So what do you do when they come up and start asking you questions about the character like you're supposed to know? Do you just kind of politely?
I mean, it depends. That doesn't happen all that often.
Okay.
Usually they'll be like, oh, you're a fan, I'm a fan. Let's talk about our favorite scenes or stuff like that. But they're not going to come up and like quiz me. Okay. It's not like they expect me to be like an actor who knows everything about their TV show. Like, hey, in episode 46,
yeah.
The Trekkies do
right.
that. But in Trekkies, the same.
That's why I didn't know if you guys, because the Trekkies are notorious.
They are notorious, yeah, and Star Wars as well.
Okay.
But no, we don't really
they
run
don't
into
do that to you.
Yeah, and also I don't necessarily have to run around being the character. I don't have to walk around doing all of her quotes and stuff like that. Sometimes it's cute, but mostly it's posing and just talking with people. And this is Helen Parr, or Elastigirl, in her classic costume. Now, again, speaking of crossplay, these are much thicker hip pads than I'm wearing now. These come out to like here. And I think I've also got a corset on that's sucked me in even narrower, because she has a very distinctive wide hips, very narrow waist, and you gotta work on that illusion. But this costume, the main part of the costume, came from one of those companies I ordered online. But then I took it to my tailor. We got this shiny red material, redid the mask, the gloves, the belt, and the boots. And again, these boots are stretched over a pair of heels. So there's just a pair of regular wedge round toe heels under here, and then the fabric is just stretched around them with elastic. And there's actually nude colored tights that are sewn between here and here, so it's literally a one-piece bodysuit. I was supposed to wear this today, but after I got the suit and I got my wig all redone and I was packing and I couldn't find my gloves or my mask. And I had a panic attack, and then I was like, you know what, I'll take Jean Grey and it'll just make it work. So I'm sorry.
Northern Lights, that's perfect.
Northern Lights did it, exactly. friend of mine took this in the camera. And this is, again, about using certain focal lengths of camera to get different depths of field and stretching effect. But it really does have the sense of the stretching. This was the first time that I wore it. You can actually see my con badge dangling behind me. It's actually like on a lanyard behind my neck. At a lot of conventions, you have a lanyard with a badge, unlike here where they just use wristbands. Notice you can see my regular eyes here. Later, I would actually start coloring in my eyes with red red crayon eyeliner, and that gives more of the flat superhero look. Like when you think of Batman, if you ever watch a Batman movie and you see really close up, his eyelids are painted black.
Yeah.
You know, so can you imagine Batman getting into the bat suit and everything like that, and it has to be There's a great comic that I love. It's like, if you've seen Civil War, Avengers, or Captain America Civil War, where they were in the garage and they all met up, and then Captain America's like, let's suit up. And then the comic shows all of them like getting into their suits, you know, in the back of the van, and you know, fixing their makeup and stuff. 'Cause you know they don't just throw that stuff on unless you're Iron Man, of course. So this was literally the first cosplay photo I ever had taken. It was taken by a professional photographer in his bedroom. He just put up a screen, had some lights, boom. This was the suit that I bought. Notice the shiny material, which does not breathe very well. It was terrible. Wig I got online. I had the makeup done at a Mac counter, and I just showed up at this place, put on the suit, and we did it. This was like 2 months before I went to my first convention. I'd been planning to go to a photo shoot and it got canceled, so he took this one instead. This is my Dark Phoenix version 2, taken last week. So this, I got a new bodysuit just from Amazon. I got the shiny gold fabric from Joann's. I cut it out. I designed the belt myself. The belt is not a rectangular piece of fabric. It's actually almost like a bow tie. It's triangular in the middle and then triangular on the ends. So it ties in a little knot. And it got a lot of fabric going on. Wig is a newer wig. I'm not going to remember that wig company. It's going to drive me nuts. And I have a tailor who sews all this stuff and puts it all together for me. My Jean Grey that you'll see tomorrow, she literally sewed me into it, because I actually gave her a big piece of fabric that had the design printed on it. She had to cut it out, kind of pin it together, put it on me, and then tighten it up where it needed to be tightened up. So, a little couture, Dark Phoenix. Thought it might destroy the universe tomorrow. And this is me and Stan Lee. This was AwesomeCon 2 years ago. I had to stand in line for an hour.
That was worth it.
It's fantastic. I also got an autograph from a previous convention. And this was like, if you ever go to a bigger convention, this was like, you know, get in there, get the picture, get out. You know, don't make eye contact, don't feed him, don't ask him any questions.
Yeah, just,
you know, and so it was a little quick and dirty, but he's that kind of high level person that has so many thousands of people that want to get the photo, they had to kind of move it through. Other people, sometimes you could talk with them a little bit. Like I got to talk with Patrick Stewart when I got a photo with him, and we asked him about his arthritis and you know what he's doing to mitigate it. You know, I got Jonathan Frakes to sing happy birthday to my ex-wife. You know, I won a few brownie points and still got divorced. But yeah, this is one of my, I'm very proud of this photo. We'll see Jean Grey tomorrow. I actually have, you know, Dark Phoenix, Red Phoenix, I have Jean Grey, and Green Phoenix. This cape is fantastic. Walk around in this. I got stopped for 20 minutes at one corner. People just, can I take a photo? Can I take a photo? Can I take a photo? And yeah, it's a lot of fun. But again, a lot of duplication here. It's the same gloves. It's the same belt as Red Phoenix. This is the black here. Was actually another bodysuit. I bought a black bodysuit and a green bodysuit, and my tailor kind of stitched it apart and sewed it back together. But again, we got the same design here. We're going to do a new version of my Red Phoenix where there's actually like flame effects in different areas and things like that. One artist actually gave me a free personalized copy of a Red Phoenix because he saw my Red Phoenix and thought it was awesome. This I thought was cool because I put the red suit on underneath and then put the green suit on over top, walked around as Green Phoenix for an hour, and then I started going, I'm feeling kind of hot. Something's going on here. Transformed into Dark Phoenix on the spot. It was really cool. And then sometimes you put this stuff up on Instagram or whatever, and it takes on a life of its own. Yeah. It's really cool what people will do to improve your cosplay and really put it in the moment. So this is a character from G.I. Joe. This is just kind of a faceless minion. Okay, it's a Cobra officer. That's all it's called. But I have still been able to create my own persona. I'm a member of a cosplay group called the Finest Cosplay Club, and they're a G.I. Joe cosplay club all over the country. This costume is the designs and what you need to make it is available on their website. They have a field guide. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you need black gloves, you need black boots, you need this bodysuit, you need this symbol bought from this particular vendor on eBay, get it sewed on, get it on the sleeve, get this helmet from a very specific guy who 3D prints it, is the only one who does it. That's just a kabuki mask, or what's that type of mask? It's a ninja mask. There's another term for it. And those guns are actually airsoft guns, but I can't take airsoft guns to conventions anymore, so I got a couple of foam 3D molded guns that are like totally super rubbery. But they look exactly like real pistols. So I call my character Deuces, because she dual wields her pistols. And she shoots a sniper rifle and tries to get double kills. She's trying to conserve ammo. I was actually, when I got into the club, I pretty much just showed up at one of their conventions like this, and they were like, "You're in." And they selected me as Miss July for one of their charity calendars that they did last year. And this is another photo taken from last week from that same photo shoot with my student. Just went out in the woods, took photos for an hour. I'm actually on a tree that is 6 feet off the ground. So then, you can then repurpose a lot of things in cosplay. This is the same belt, same gun, the same harness, added a little X-Force belt buckle from a friend, bought a black bodysuit instead, did the face paint, and this is my Domino cosplay. And it's kind of an original Domino because Domino has a white streak, and I have the red streak, that was just my natural hair at the time. This was done as a tribute to a friend of mine who committed suicide last year. At AwesomeCon, a whole bunch of us dressed up as her favorite character, Domino, and that was our tribute to her. And it was my first time doing full face paint and everything. And notice the tear. It's both appropriate because of my friend, but also it was completely an accident. I had the face paint done by a friend at the hotel. As I walked across to the convention center, I got hit with a blast of wind and a tear fell down my face. And I'm like, oh great, I've got this clear streak in my white makeup. And I went to a friend and said, how'd my makeup look? Can you tell there's a tear? And they're like, oh yeah, we can tell. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and fix it. And they're like, no, it actually kind of looks cool. How could a clear streak in my white makeup look cool? I didn't realize it was actually on the black side. So, you recognize this?
Oh.
7 and 9. See, I'm a Trekkie and a Star Wars fan. I go both ways.
Well, he has to. We're Trekkies, so that's where he came
So
from.
the suit is, again, made entirely by my tailor from scratch. I said, I want this blue and gray fabric. Another friend of mine made the glove and the eyepiece out of craft foam. I actually dyed my hair yellow and got my tailor to my hairstylist to pin it up in place. And this shoe is a little bit different because it's got a point toe and you can actually see the heel. So it's got kind of a different hook mechanism up underneath there. But after I posted this photo 2 years ago, Jerry Ryan, who played 7 and 9, actually liked it on Instagram. So I started following her on Instagram. February 22nd came around the next year and she said happy birthday to herself. February 22nd, it's Jerry Ryan's birthday today. I didn't know that for years. I always knew that I had the same birthday as Drew Barrymore and George Washington, but not Jerry Ryan. But now I do. Beautiful Daphne. A cosplay friend of mine made this entire costume for me. She said, I think you make a great Daphne. Put this on. I bought the tights and the wig. She gave me the headband, the costume, the scarf, and the shoes. This was actually taken in a cemetery right at sunset. We just use a blue filter. You watch a lot of movies and you're like, oh, they're running around at night and there's like these hard shadows being cast by the trees and stuff like that. It's because it's not nighttime. It is noon and they've got a blue filter on the camera. I mean, that would be the best time to shoot, right? This is my gray Catwoman from Batman the Animated Series in the 90s. This cosplay, I did a lot of the work myself. I bought the suit online. I made the mask. It is just a clear plastic mask that you get at Michael's, cut to specific proportions, spray painted black. The ears are just literally a piece of craft foam cut kind of like a heart and then folded slightly and sewn to the top of the hood. It's a whip. This belt I'm very proud of. Wish I brought it because these, the way they're attached, they're not stapled, they're not glued. There is a snap glued to the back side of those, and then the other side of the snap is grounded through the belt. So you can literally pop them right off and pop them back on. Because I didn't want any, if I stapled it, it might show. And if I glued it, the belt moving around, it might fall off. But this way, and if they break, I can just replace it. The claws are actual metal claws that are like rings, $10 on eBay. They go around the tip of your finger and a little metal claw sticks out. Pull on a pair of opera gloves, poke, problem solved. Of course, it's hard to use your phone. And the boots are just wedge heel, velvet knee top boots that I got on eBay. I had to modify them a little because it used to have like a string out the back. I had to take that out and replace it with a piece of stretchy material so that it didn't have an obvious string hanging out the back. Is that it? It doesn't feel like that should be it. Maybe it is. It is. Wow.
You don't have Ray in there. It's you've only gone 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay, well, now I'm going to take these shoes off. It's going to take 5 minutes for my feet to flatten out. Look at my toes. They don't want to flatten out. The problem with these shoes is because they open toe, and they keep trying to push through them, and that actually hurts. I've got shoes that are just as high with a round toe. They don't hurt at all.
Well, can't you just modify those then?
Not in the way that I would want, because of the stiff fabric that the shoes are made of. If I just put a toe around them, well, that's not going to stop it from trying to go in that hole. I do have another pair of shoes that I just need to dye them myself. I dyed these, the original teal, and I dyed them with a little bit more blue to make them match the suit a little bit more, but it's starting to wear off, as you can tell. Yes, hand me that.
You said you grew up in North Pole. Where did you get comics? Was there like a comic community at school when you were growing up, or how did you first get into it?
Okay, so.
And was Comic Shop around? I know that's
Comic
like
Shop
a great
was around.
resource now.
Comic Shop was around. I don't know exactly when they opened. I didn't start out with comic books when I was young. I was very into sci-fi books, Star Wars, Star Trek, things like that. I started writing in my own stuff in middle school. I got involved with Star Wars, the role-playing game, and then Dungeons and Dragons. And then a Dungeons and Dragons friend of mine had some comics, and he said, "Oh yeah, we got a comic shop right over here, and they have some dice and gaming materials and stuff like that." So the comic shop used to be on 10th and Barnett, right across from City Hall, and then they moved over to the Riverfront, behind the Royal Fork. I know it's not Royal Fork anymore, but I've been gone for 10 years, so I just miss the snow. But I've always felt that there was a very big comic book community in the town. I've seen several people have come up to me out there and been like, "We needed this convention. We needed to get our nerd on." And I really hope it comes together again next year and gets even bigger.
Did you do middle school and high school in North Pole?
Yes, both middle and high. I went to Badger Road Elementary. Mom lives right behind the Polar ice rink.
Oh, fun. Did they have comic books at the school library when you were there? 'Cause
Not that I remember.
even when I was there was a little bit.
There might be now, but I think back in the 90s it wasn't seen as an official art form at the time. So no, I haven't seen, they didn't have it back then. But thank you, good question. Any other questions, comments? You want to see any more photos? If you want me
Well,
to
you
dig
have to
through my-
continue with when did you first start doing, we know when you had an interest, when did you first start, did you have like a sewing machine to do your own, or?
Okay, so, the story. So, I did not do cosplay or anything like that in high school. I was in high school, I did theater. I was in a couple of plays, did some community theater. I joined the Navy. I left home for 20 years. I've traveled all over the world. I did some more community theater. My very first cosplay could be said I was Johnny Bravo for Halloween one year. Dyed my hair blonde, had a bustle shirt, Hey there, baby. Oh, mama. Lots of fun. Traveled all over. Eventually I settled in the DC area. I was working there. And a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you come to these conventions with me? He was an artist. And he had his own table, but he didn't have a helper monkey to help him move all the equipment. And then if he was drawing a picture, he wasn't pulling people in. So I would be like, hey, check out my friend, he draws stuff. Okay? So I was doing that, and I got a free ticket. So I was able to wander around and take pictures of the cosplayers and buy stuff. Well, then I saw all these cosplayers, and they were like, hey, you know what? You could do James Marsden from X-Men. You could do a really good Cyclops X-Men, because I had the buzz cut, and if I wore the right sunglasses, and I kind of had the jaw. So I started looking into that, and I was looking online, and I stumbled upon a female Cyclops cosplay. And I went, you know, I'm starting this journey. I like dressing this way. I like this character. Okay, so I thought, oh, I could do like a female SpiderMan or something like that. And when I was looking for bodysuits, I found the Zero Suit Samus. And I've played Metroid since it first came out in the 80s, and I was thrilled to find out that she was a girl underneath that armor. And I've played every game in the series ever since. So, I mean, I've always loved her, so I said, yes, I will do Samus. And I had to get the wig, and I had to get the squishy, and the belt, and not a lot of people do a baby Metroid with their Samus, so it becomes very unique. And then I did Dark Phoenix as well, and those were the first two that I did at a convention. And again, I show up that first day, I'm kind of sitting there and saying, okay, I'm in cosplay now, see what happens, and then, hey, Gene, hey, Dark Phoenix, can I get a photo, can I get a photo? And then it just explodes, and it's a drug. You just can't get enough of it. Summer Blau from Firefly, she saw my Samus cosplay and was like, oh my god. And she loved it so much, I got a great picture with her. And even a website dedicated, a fan site for her, contacted me and said, could you tell us the story of meeting Summer Blau and how much she loved your cosplay? And I went to my first 6 conventions in a year in the DC area. And I always wore Samus. So I got known as the tall Samus in DC. I got an Instagram going, I had business cards, like little things. I started marketing myself. And then I realized I couldn't maintain one convention a month. That was just too much. And I couldn't do new costumes. I did buy a sewing machine for a short period. I thought, oh, I'll learn how to sew. You know what's better? Giving people your money. I tell people, I'm not a crafter. I mean, I have a little, like I did make the gun. I did dye these. I've done little things, right? I have ideas. And I don't always know how to do them myself, but I'm a project manager. I give the stuff to people who are much more talented than I am. They put it together, and I just make it look good. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was very afraid wearing a purchased suit at my first convention. Oh my God, I bought this on Amazon. What are they going to think of me? I'm not a real cosplayer, right? No, they were more than, where did you buy that? Where can I get one? That's beautiful. You did a great job. Who did your makeup? There's women who feel that their makeup is better than mine, that my makeup is better than theirs. Some women can't walk in heels, and they're like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. But it just works, and it feels good. And honestly, I don't feel fully in character unless I'm wearing those heels. Like right now, I feel a little like a short size. But it's all good, because comfort is important. I've had people ask about designing the costume around your comfort level. Yes, there is a certain, do you want realism? Do you want it to look exactly like the character? Do you want that type of thing? And the only thing I can suggest is that make sure you beta test it. Wear it at home, walk around for a half an hour in the cosplay. Things will start falling apart, you'll start to figure out where it's chafing. Like if I'd have worn these heels for more than an hour at home, I would have known that they start to hurt after a while, and then my foot gets cramped and literally goes numb. And then when I finally take them off, it takes a few minutes for my feet to relax again because they're so
Well, I've noticed walking around, several are holding their shoes, and I went, oh, there seems to be, at first I thought it was a thing, but I think it's just their feet are.
It is, exactly.
Yeah.
Some people can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it does depend on the shoe. The black boots that I had on earlier, again, they are a 4-inch heel. They're almost just as high as this. I can go dancing in those. And they're like perfect comfort. I wear them to work all day long. It is just it's a difference of the manufacturer, of the exact size of the shoe and the type of shoe. Like I said, an open toe versus a round toe is all the difference sometimes. And yeah, and then on my very first convention, I walked into a panel about cosplay and body positivity with LGBTHQ, and literally Jay Justice, who was up on stage giving her little introduction as I walked in nervously to find my chair, she went, "You look wonderful." And I was like, and then near the end they asked a question or they made a statement, and I said, can I explain? This is my first day of cosplay, literally day one, and I'm so happy by the response that I've gotten from the community and everything like that. LGBTHQ contacted me 6 months later to be one of their panelists, and now I do panels all up and down the East Coast, well, mostly around DC, talking about body positivity, cosplay Rule 63, and the involvement of LGBTQ people in media. There's going to be a panel in just a little while talking about the inclusion of Alaskans and Native Alaskan community in media and how we are represented. You know, every time I tell somebody from Alaska, it says, "Oh, you ever seen Northern Exposure?"
Yeah, it's being presented by the people that made Molly of Denali.
Right,
Molly
that's what I
Denali,
thought.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
she's
I'm
opened a lot of doors.
really looking forward to that. So, okay, yes, another question.
So you answered it already.
Okay, anyone else? This has been very quiet. Come on. I don't have any candy to give out. Does that help?
So I don't know, like, is it, you feel like if you walk up and ask if you can have your picture taken, that you're intruding on
Not at all.
the person's
We
experience?
do this, I will tell you, we do this to be acknowledged. I mean, we want to share in the love of the character. We want to share our love of the character. We want to be adored, you know, or else we wouldn't be doing it.
Or you would just go in the other room to be left alone, or?
If I wanted to be alone, I would go somewhere else.
So
I would
if you're
strip
out
down.
walking around, you are available for?
It's
any-
still important to ask. I
Yeah.
have had people who are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, hey, great cosplay." Click. No. You have to go up and say, "Oh, I love your cosplay. Can I get a picture?" And then it's important to specify you want a picture with them or of them.
Oh,
Because, you know, do you want a selfie?
oh.
Do you want somebody else to take the picture, or do you just want me?
I thought it was just the ones that were like at the tables.
Nope. No, anybody walking around, you know, if you, one of the best things you can do for a cosplayer is recognize their cosplay. Okay? I saw a great Ariel, it was a hipster Ariel and Ursula that were just mom and daughter walking around. And it was like, "Oh, hipster Ariel." And she was like, "You recognize me?" There's another mom pushing a pram, and she was doing Kaylee from Firefly. She had the green jumpsuit with the little flower, and her hair's pulled up in little knots. I was like, "Kaylee!" And she's like, "No." And that's what's most important. That's one of the reasons we do it. I even walk around. Sometimes I'll be like, "You know what? Sick of this. You know, I'm not wearing the heels. I'm not wearing the suit. I'm gonna go to the convention just by myself and just walk around and not be recognized." 10 minutes into it, I'm like, "Why isn't anybody stopping for my photo?" Oh, right. But I still get recognized. Again, the cheekbones. Cheekbone story. This is a great one. So one of my first conventions, I was dressed as Dark Phoenix, and I was talking to a friend, and some girls from the G.I. Joe cosplay group nearby were kind of like checking out my butt. And they were like, "Oh, check her out." And then when the friend introduced me to them, they're like, "Oh gosh, you're genetically male. We're so sorry. You were checking out your ass for your nuts." I was like, "Oh no, you can check it out all you want." I dress like this on purpose. You know? But then they introduced me to the convention, to their group, and they said, "Oh, you should go to our website and then put together a costume. It would be awesome." I said, "Sweet." So I friended one of them on Facebook a couple of days later, and my Facebook and my cosplay weren't connected at the time. Now they're pretty much synonymous with one another. So it was my regular picture. And I was like, "Oh, she's not going to recognize me with the wig and makeup and everything like that." So I literally started sending her a private message to explain who I was. Bing, friend request accepted. Bing, private message from her. "Oh yeah, so I did get your friend request. I wasn't sure who you are, but I looked at a couple of your photos and I recognized your cheekbones." Hashtag cheekbones that can cut glass. All due to her.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm very fortunate to have this shape, you know, the slender thing, and then I'm wearing a waist cincher, not a corset, just a waist cincher. I've got hip pads on. These are silicone breast pads underneath a regular bra, and then, you know, tights in a couple different layers. But I'm very fortunate. But it's, for the transgender community, it's not about looking like a woman, it's about feeling like a woman. and just being who you want to be. So if you ever say, so, oh, why is that person trans? That still looks like a guy. That's not why they're doing it. It is a lifestyle choice. And so is cosplay. Yes?
You think cosplay has helped you figure out who everyday normal you want to be?
Absolutely. So recently I did, you know what, I'm gonna throw this, how much time we got?
Well, we're at
13.
45 minutes, so.
Perfect. I'm gonna pull up this video. So the student who did the story about me, right? I hope we have audio. He also made a great video. I'll tell you, I can find it in a hurry.
You can advertise your backstory.
Better Backstories, as you can see, there is a Kickstarter that I did recently. If you're a creative, if you're a writer, if you're a role player, Better Backstories is a set of cards that you play like tarot cards that will help you design a more detailed backstory and jumpstart your imagination. You can find it on Kickstarter. It's already been funded, but we're going to be doing follow-on purchases soon. It's also on Facebook and Instagram. And I don't have my glasses, so this is going to be harder than I thought. Oh, I don't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
Great.
The audio wasn't working in the other presentation anyway, so it might not
Okay.
have,
yeah.
that might not have worked for you.
Anyway, I would have loved to have shown you that. But basically, when he was doing his interview with me, and he was saying, okay, so you're a creative writer, and you acted on stage, and you do play D&D, and you pretend to be all these characters, and you cosplay. What's the connective thread? Why do you do them all? And I said, well, I like pretending. I enjoy dressing up and being other characters and losing myself in that other identity. And I have so many of them. I have over this is 20 characters that people pledged extra money to my artist to draw for Better Backstories. But I have over 200 D&D characters of my own. And this artist draws them for me, because I can't talk. Again, I give somebody my money. But I love pretending and being these other characters and losing myself in them. And when I started going to conventions and being able to do this for days on end, you know, like the entire weekend, being recognized and identifying as a female, I realized that I was pretending every day to be a cis hetero male. And luckily, society has come to a point where we can be our true selves and live out loud as who we want to be. 25 years ago, if I had known what gender fluid and non-binary meant and tried to live that way, if I'd have showed up at JCPenney's to sell shoes in a dress, they would have been like, James, we need to have a talk, and I probably would have been fired. And if I did still want to live that life, I'd have to go somewhere like San Francisco or New York, and I hate big cities, right? And it would have been a very different type of community, and these words didn't exist. Now we have terms, we have words that tell us, you know, what we are, and that's how I came to identify as non-binary. That I don't have gender dysphoria, but I also like looking like this. So, and luckily I work in a place and have friends who are supportive and allow me to do it. Unfortunately, not everybody has that. And if you know anybody who is like having trouble or whatever like that, please reach out to them. There are support avenues in Fairbanks and online, and just be supportive and help them to find their true self.
Can you put that link on your Instagram? Is that possible later on today?
The video?
Yeah.
I will indeed.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. So just a little, like 3-minute video.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because I work at a school for military journalists, they have to interview people as practice. So they interview me all the time for D&D and cosplay. So a few of these have been done from time to time. But yes, cosplay helped me find the confidence that I needed to find my femininity and my non-binariness. Any other questions, comments, bad jokes, good limericks? Yes.
What shops do you go to find your outfit materials and all that other kind of stuff?
Joann's Fabrics is great. Michael's can be great. I order stuff online a lot. A lot of the suits that I buy are just kind of purchased like straight online. So this print, the design, the shading and the coloration is by a guy named Brandon Gilbert. And he does a lot of SpiderMan shading and stuff like that. So you can go to his site and buy the digital copy of the print and then send it to a place called fabricondemand.com. They will print it on any kind of fabric you want, but you just get it on white spandex. And then you get this big, sheet, and then you have to cut it out, and they'll give you a diagram to show you what pieces go where. You take it to a tailor or do it yourself, sew the thing together, and then blam. And I'm going to do that now from now on, because this was bought from China, and I gave them my measurements, but there was still, it was a little, not quite, right? Even the fingers are kind of goopy. Jean Grey fits me like a glove, because again, I was literally sewn into it by professionals. And again, if you can't sew on your own, there's no shame in having somebody else do it for you. Anything else? What time is it? How are we doing?
10 minutes.
2 minutes?
10.
10 minutes. Okay. Any more questions, comments? I mean, anything you want to know about me? About better backstories? About my cosplay? Yes.
What got you into D&D and what version did you start playing?
Okay. So my very first role-playing game was actually Star Wars, the role-playing game from West End Games, the D6 version. We went to Star Tours down in Disneyland, and when we came out in the gift shop, there was this thing called the Star Wars source book. And I flipped through it, it's like, oh, this has like detailed information about Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon and, you know, the Empire. So I bought it, and I read through it, and I was like, this is really cool, but what's these little statistic blocks that says like hull D4 and, you know, blaster D7, you know, what's this? Somebody said, oh, that's a role-playing game. This is a supplement for a role-playing game. It's not just a book about Star Wars. I was like, role-playing games? I've been playing video games for a long time, so I kind of I was aware of the concept. And I'd seen the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon back in the 80s. So I went to the comic shop, I got the Star Wars role-playing game, they're like, well, if you like that, you might like this. Second edition. AD&D was my first jam. I played that after I joined the Navy, I played second edition in Spain with a group of friends. And they brought me in late. They'd already had a group running for a little while. And they brought me in as like a level 3 rogue. And we started playing for a couple of months. And at one point, we were captured by this group of bandits or whatever. And they said, who is your leader? Everyone at the table looked at me. And I'm like, I guess I am? And I dealt with what I needed to deal with. And afterwards, I said to the players, I'm like, how did that happen? I came in late. I'm not like one of your original group of friends. I'm just some person who jumped in at the last minute. And they're like, oh, well, you're really good at making decisions. And, you know, you don't let us hem and haw. And I just realized most people don't like being responsible for making a decision. It could be as simple as where we can go to eat. You know, where should we go? Oh, let's get pizza. No, let's get McDonald's. No, let's get Taco Bell. And it's the person who says, get in the truck, we're getting Thai food. Because if everybody gets food poisoning, at least they didn't, then they're not responsible for it, you know. But it's like, I was always that type of, let's keep going, get it done. And that helped me learn to be a leader in the Navy. I beta tested 5th edition while I was deployed in Afghanistan. I put up posters all over the base. I said, show up at the USO at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock rolled around, nobody came in. 6:05, 6:10. Oh, hello, you nice lady. She came, oh, I play Skyrim. You know, I heard about D&D. I was like, come on, let me show you how it works. Another guy, then a staff sergeant, then a petty officer, then a chief, and then a master sergeant, and then a lieutenant. We had 10 people that first day. And we ran a weekly session for 3 months with the new 5th edition rules, back when it was still called D&D Next. And some people hadn't played since the Red Box days. They were like original 1st edition. They hadn't played in all that time, and they loved it. And we got into the game, and when I transferred, the girl who first walked in, the former Skyrim player, she became the dungeon master and took over for me. So it's very cool. Very, very cool. And that's where I got my love of better backstories. Whenever I create a character, I like them all to be unique. A lot of people will play like the same type of character. Oh, cyberpunk, he's got a flamethrower. Oh, superheroes, oh, he throws fire. Oh, D&D, he's a fire mage. Okay, we get it, Fred. You like the fire. But personally, I love making very diverse and different characters. And I started to notice there were certain threads of my own personal life story that I kept putting into their backstory. And I was like, no, they need to be unique. So, better backstories was the answer to that. Did I bring the cards? Did I put them in here, or did I leave them in the other room?
I don't know.
Aha! This is my beta deck. The originals will have it has a very pretty box and everything like that. But like I said, they play like tarot cards. So if you would like an example, if you'd like to talk to me about it more at length, trust me, I will do offline, because this is about cosplay. Another question.
I was going to ask about better backstories.
Yes, please.
Does it like help with like writing original characters and stories, not just for D&D?
It does. It is genre neutral and system neutral. It doesn't actually say anything about D&D in it. It's not fantasy specific. It can be used in a sci-fi series. It can be used in a modern series. It can be used in a western. It doesn't matter. I'm working on booster packs, little extra packs of like 10 cards each. The basic deck is 60 cards, but extra boosters that would be western or sci-fi or magical or things like that you can then shuffle into the deck or pick and choose. I thought of a great idea is you could say, oh, okay, I have this group of players and these 20 specific backstory elements. You don't have to use the whole deck. Say, okay, who's going to be the hidden princess? Who's going to be the one with the broken love affair? I don't know. So you can use like that. But yes, I've had people who said, oh, I've got this really great crime novel and my investigator is this grizzled guy with this dark past, but his partner, I got nothing. So yes, it can be used for any type of creativity, even songwriting, as somebody pointed out to me once. I was like, go for it. I'm really looking forward to getting it into the hands of my backers so that they can start doing their own thing with it, because I try to tell, yes, I have my way of using it, but I'm really eager to see what they come up with. Another person suggested, could you put like syllables on the front of the cards to be like a word or name generator? You could play it 4 or 5 syllables. I was like, that's a little bit much, and I think it's too late to try to squeeze that in, but maybe that could be something later. Somebody else actually commented and said, oh, so you just play a card, and then you play a number on the next card, and then you count that many words into the card, because there's words on the cards, and then that'll allow you to, pick the syllable or the word that you want. And I was like, wow, okay, this guy's already thinking outside the box. I can pull up.
Yeah, my eyes are terrible.
Didn't know you had that bad.
Nope.
I know. I told him contacts.
Make nice color contacts.
Now, what? Which one says better backstories? Is it this one?
Yes.
Which one says Tim's latest quotes?
So this is an example of one of the cards. Again, you've got your headline. You got this indicates it's either positive or negative. It's a life card. This indicates information is on the back of the card in an icon form that can also be used. But here we go. Your birth was kept secret from certain people, or maybe it wasn't recorded. Again, that could be sci-fi versus fantasy. But then I actually had some of my backers come up with their own quotes to add to the bottom of these cards. So that's from one of his own original characters. So this is considered a benefit card, and it's had a positive influence on your life because of the positive there.
So do you have one of the front?
Say again?
Do you have one of the front of the card?
Not in this folder, and I don't want to
Yeah.
spend too much time digging around for it. But the back side of the card also includes weather and landforms, so you can literally create a map with the cards, or you can add a little bit of weather to your campaign. Okay, I see people showing up for the next panel, so I think we're done. Thank you all very much for coming. I love you all.
Pass out your
And
card.
remember to cosplay what you love and love what you cosplay.